Welcome back to Cinema Flicks and Music Picks. I'm Davey, your host with the most, your beast with the least. Although today we're certainly not talking about the least of anything. We're talking about the new release to Europe anyway. I believe the US did manage to sneak it in last month, of the band's 50th anniversary edition of Cahoots. You notice it's a revised cover where they've kept the same artwork, but the white border from the album has gone, but not entirely, because it has now been used as a wraparound, see, with all the names and things. Isn't that nice? So yeah, I quite like that, and it really shows off the artwork a lot more. It's always light, although once you see it that close, it looks like Levon and Rick in particular have had the brown album put through an Instagram filter for puppy dog eyes or cat eyes or something. But yeah, we're going to have a look at this. Now, because it was released last month, I've had a chance to listen to it already on high res, so I can give my thoughts. Although obviously I've known the album for a lifetime and a day anyway. So let's crack it open. Let's have a look first of all. So we've already looked at the top. And here's your hype sticker, which I've just attached to the inside there. So, 50th anniversary, Super Deluxe edition, no deluxe anymore, Super Deluxe. Newly remixed, controversially for some, and remastered in high resolution surround sound, Blu-ray audio, 2 CDs, 180 gram. Oh, they must have had the speed of that wrong, because it's got the 45 crossed out, yeah. Looks like they might put 33 in one stage. High speed master. Life is a Carnival. Japanese single. Doesn't say Japanese here, but I definitely know it is. Booklet. Bonus tracks, alternate version, instrumentals. Paris 71 bootleg. New liner notes by Rob Bowman. And collectible lithographs. I'm not sure who's collecting them unless they already want to own the box set, but there you go. So, let's start with the booklet. So it's even more expansive way of looking at that cover art. And it's a nice comprehensive look through the typical thing. So some hyperbole, but then some nice memorabilia, some of the recording sheets, edit notes, some photographs from around the time. So there's outside Bearsville, Grossman's property, composite reel number 3 of Belfast Cowboys. We know it went on to be 4% pantomime. Where do we go from here? And smoke signal. Kind of interesting quotes are highlighted a bit heavier. See if there's anything, and then we get some nice, of the period advertisements, posters for gigs, 7-inch sleeve, famous picture from the back of the album. I'm not really sure that needed to be included here because we get the album. Tape reel, beg your pardon. A more contemporary looking band than probably anybody had seen at that point. They've kind of ditched the rustic and they've gone LA really. This is about the time they did move out to LA, isn't it? So, it's hardly surprising that the homeliness had kind of left the sound. But again, we're still getting these wonderful Bearsville shots. So. Excuse me, that's obviously in London, but it looks for. Yes, that is London. Yes. And then credits. With a tiny little capital label taking up the whole of the back page for no reason. There we go. We'll look at the booklet there. Now the main selling point for most should be all is the music. So here's how the new album is presented. So shot in A studio. I don't think that's Bearsville, it looks more like Capitol. And here's how it's presented. Very similar if you've got the previous set. So we've got our 7-inch here from Japan of, I think it's Life is a Carnival, backed with Moonstruck 1. Life is a Carnival, Moonstruck 1, no capitals. Well, it's on Capitol, so I suppose we're meant to have all capitals on Capitol. And then being Japanese, we get the Japanese style lyric sheet. That's a nice attention to detail. Could have used a wee Obi strip if I was complaining. And then taking out the 7-inch itself with the original labels. Fantastic. Always nice to get those included, just as a little a bit of memorabilia, really takes you a bit closer. And then over here we have a remastered album with some bonus tracks. The Blu-ray is down here, I believe. So we can get the Blu-ray logo. No, so it's the Paris. There's your Blu-ray. So that's got this and that on high def. And your Blu-ray, your CD of bonus tracks has the Paris concert bootleg and some bonus tracks, Bessie Smith and Endless Highway and things that have been on various formats over the period. So, and nothing really on the back. So nothing too electrifying there. And here's your LP, as was lovely replica. There's your lyrics with, again, they've changed the cover, so it's not quite a replica because Gilbert Stone's artwork's taken over the front cover entirely and not got the white border as it should, like this does, which I know purists may have a problem with that. I kind of like it to differentiate that this isn't the original, this is the remix. Some people will have, and that's Richard Havidan who took that photo, but some people will have issues with it not having the original artwork, but again, to differentiate it, I'm quite happy. And on 180 gram vinyl and a polyline sleeve, there we go, lovely jubbly. And again, original labels. So yeah, polyline sleeves nice. It's nice that they go to that tiny bit more effort that just makes it seem a bit more deluxe. Because if you're anything like me and you buy second-hand records or you buy new editions that aren't polylined and you want to keep them as pristine as possible, you really need to polyline these suckers. And then again, the whole format will be familiar to those of whom have collected all of these 50th-ish, because none of them seem to actually land on the 50th. This one came so close, I guess it did in America. But it comes with a lithograph set. These ones aren't as impressive as previous ones because they just didn't do as many official photos for the session. So there's your kind of cover to show you what you get here. So again, back at Bearsville, you can see with snow like that, no wonder they wanted to move to LA, but I guess mostly being Canadians, they were used to it. Acadian driftwood after all. Again, there's that picture, the Richard Avedon picture, which I do like. I remember Grail Marcus had a lot to say in Mystery Train about this. It symbolised, that the band were no longer, a unit. They were all off in their own world. He does have a propensity to see what he wants to see, Grail Marcus, but he's a great writer. So, and there's the album cover itself, of course. So again, maybe some people frame these. I always think they're, I don't want to use the word pointless for that, but when you do something like that, or like my other videos when they include an original film poster, that kind of thing, it always occurs to me, well, if I do that, if I use it as a film poster and stick it in the wall, I've got an incomplete set sitting on my shelf now. So, you know, it's kind of catch-22, isn't it? It's the collector versus the sado that just wants to have it all sitting neatly. So bonus tracks. So we know the album. Okay, let's go on the assumption that most people here watching a video about the band's Cahoots know the band's Cahoots. Underrated, I think, especially side A. Brilliant stuff. Side B, it's got its moments. We'll go into that in a second. But Endless Highway, early studio take, new mix. When I Paint My Masterpiece, alternate take, new mix. 4% Pantomime takes 1 and 2 spliced. Not as exciting as it sounds. The first take falls apart in seconds. Don't Do It, 2021 mix, because the one on the original Cahoots 2000 Capital Remastered CD was pretty lousy. And Bessie Smith outtake from the Basement tapes, which were nothing to do with the Basement tapes. But it was the first time anybody had heard it, I suppose. This too is live at the Olympia. Now they keep using the word bootleg, whereas in previous ones they've just called it the concerts. The reason for that is it's incomplete, but it does have Walcott, We Can Talk, which is always great to do the Richard, Rick and Levon vocals on top of each other. Rick singing Loving You Sweeter Than Ever. Dixie, Great Divide, Unfaithful Servant, Don't Do It, Genetic Method, any version of that. Obviously followed by Chest Fever, Rag Mama Rag, and Slippin' and a Slide, and Left and then a Ride, and then a couple more bonus tracks, not from the concert. Life is a Carnival, instrumental version, so you can sing along with those lyrics in their LP. Volcano, who wants to sing along to Volcano? And the wonderful, stripped down Thinking Out Loud, which was, I think, the first time they released from this as a kind of promo. They released it maybe October, November. And wow. So on the first couple of 50th anniversaries, so for Big Pink and the Brown Album, we had a cappella versions of what did we get? I Shall Be Released, and then Rockin' Chair for the Brown Album. So this is the equivalent of that, but rather than take all the music out, it's just giving you the kind of very acoustic guitar laced stuff. So it takes a great song that was always hiding under the surface there and strips away the 1971 production sheen and gives you this wonderful country ballad with Rick singing his heart out, and it just shows you how the same take can be completely transformed, not by adding anything but removing. It's a great addition, and it's made me love Thinking Out Loud a lot more, which in turn makes me like side 2 of the album a bit more. The original album, of course, Life is a Carnival, When I Paint My Masterpiece, there's your big 2 to start the album, boom, boom. And if you'd only heard those 2 tracks, you'd be thinking, by God, we're talking something as good as the first 2 albums here. A personal favourite, but I understand not everybody likes it, Last of the Blacksmiths. I love the sonic sounds. Robbie's guitar's been filtered through some weird stuff. Garth's doing some amazing work. Richard is singing in a desperate voice that nobody else can, just the way he did in King Harvest. Robbie's lyrics are getting a little pretentious, maybe, Cocteau, Van Gogh and Geronimo, that used up what was left, that kind of stuff. Where do we go from here is where things just start to go, because, any chorus that goes na 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 na, and he said, no, you just think, oh, you didn't really come up with lyrics for that one, did you, Robbie? 4% Pantomime. It's just a fun song with Richard and the Belfast Cowboy, Man to Man. Don't like him anymore because of the way he's been acting, but we won't hold that against the bands, especially Richard is no longer with us. So Richard, I believe, coined the phrase Belfast Cowboy that Vans made quite a pretty penny from over the years, and Richard came up with that. Shootout Chinatown, not a great track, and it certainly suffers from the let's have some cliched oriental music on top of it. Moonstruck 1's a bit divisive. Some people love it, some people hate it. Yeah, I kind of love it, again, for Richard's vocals, but can understand why it's just a bit too syrupy and sludgy for some people. Thinking Out Loud, again, as I said, this used to be one that I would have lumped in with these lesser tracks on side B, but now that I know that I can stick on the stripped down version. Smoke Signal, Levon's having a great time. It's not a great song, but it's a fun song. It's very much an indication of where I say Levon's solo career would go with Good Time Rock and Roll. Volcano, no, it's the worst song on the album. For my man, it's one of the most dull band songs. But we end with the River Hymn, where Levon gets to... People sometimes are surprised that Levon can sing beautifully in a slight tenor, and you know how quietly he can sometimes sing, like when he's singing that version of The Weight in the Last Waltz, or when he's doing the call and response parts in Whispering Pines. Some people are, always surprised at how, subtle Levon can be, considering he's considered the kind of stomper and yeller of the band. But Levon's a beautiful singer, I mean, he grew up with the Songs of the Soil. Not everything was a barn burner, so, pardon the pun, given his barn burned down a few times. But some things were old-time religion, and they were more gospel-y. He loved the Staples singers before he ever met them, before the Walls. So yeah, Levon singing the River Hymn is a beautiful capper to a mixed side B. Blu-ray gives you, as I said, all of this on Dolby Atmos, DTS, which is a 5.1 mix, stereo high res, so best quality. So if you've got the system for it, get your Dolby out, get your 5.1 set up, and you won't trust me, I had it on earlier, and wow, even if you've only got a soundbar, if you don't have anything too high tech, Blu-ray is the way you want to hear this. Wow. And the LP doesn't contain any bonus tracks. It's the LP as released. So as I said way back at the start, when we looked at the hype sticker, I'll stick this all back in the box. Some people have had an issue with the remixing of the album. I haven't, for a couple of reasons. Number one, it sounds good to me. And number two, some people have said, but there's drum parts in here that weren't in the original. What this does is it takes parts that were lost in the mix and it brings them forward. It takes parts from an alternate take that maybe didn't work in that take, but now that they've remixed other parts, works perfectly. So it is a proper remix, it's not just a remaster. And I think, I'm not being patronising, but I do think some people do need to learn the difference between the two things. A remaster, just to make it sound as fresh as daisy, from, as if you bought it day one. A remix, something in it's going to be changed. We're going to go back to the mixing desk, and that's what Robbie and Bob Claremont have done with this series. So Levon's drums in particular have annoyed a few people. Not Levon's drums themselves, but just the changing of them. Excuse me, again, I have no issue with it. They help the album sound that bit more contemporary. It loses a little bit of, as I said, the 1971 where do we go from here kind of. We've done the folkier side and the countryer side and the gospeler side in the first few albums. Stage Fright was, successful, but it certainly wasn't a critical smash the way the first two were. Where do we go from here, indeed, kind of thing. So they went a bit more contemporary with this album, and as such, when you go that bit more contemporary, that might date faster than the stuff that sounded timeless, even though it was released first, if that makes any sense. So yeah, I think this one did need a rejig, and I think this is maybe, in places, now my go-to version of Cahoots. Does that mean that I won't listen to the old version? No, because I've got a MoFi, a mobile fidelity of it. I've got the SACD of it. I've got the 2000 Capitol album with the bonus tracks, not all of which are carried over here, so you need to keep that one if you're a completist anyway, because it's got a little radio spot. And I think it's a different version of 4% Pantomime. So you keep that one, But I think if you're more of a casual band fan, have the 2000 as your default, and then should you find this cheap in a year or two, or you just want the album remix, get the 2-disc CD. That's probably the best way to do it. The Blu-ray, unfortunately, is always exclusive to the box set, so the 2-disc CD will give you all the content at least. So I'd start with the Capitol 2000 issue, which does have the original artwork, so you can notice it by the white border in the bonus tracks editions. So I'd start with that, and then probably pick up the 2 CD, and then this only if you think you're going to be a band completist, because these aren't for everyone if you're not a major band fan, especially as we go on and on in the CDs. Because the first few albums I think are essential to any real music collection, but as we go further on, I think they are going to be more and more just for band fans, and I hope we do go further on and on, because I'd love to see a Moondog Matinee. I'd love to see Northern Light, Southern Cross, certainly. I'd love to see a lot of stripped down from that, because that gave us the demos for Twilight and Christmas Must Be Tonight, which are complete masterpieces, much better than the finished version. And I'd even like to see a box set version of Islands. See what Robbie and Mr. Claremont can do with that. Must be something in the vaults. If nothing else, they can always find some great concerts and stick them on. I hope it's not just that one that's been on a million different bootlegs and broadcast FM things for years and years. They stick on the Islands one, the 76 show, but I'm sure there's some fun stuff. I mean, there's a gig recorded the last time Robbie and the band played together from 7 to 8. It was a Rick concert. I wonder if they could get the rights to that. They came on stage and did a couple of numbers. I don't think Garth was there. I might be wrong about that. But it'd be interesting if they could just, get some real... I think this is where they're going to need to pull out some real fan-ish things to keep the series going, because... And they'll also need to kind of ditch the 50th thing, because I don't think this will support itself for another 5 years till we get, 6 years until we get to the Islands 50th anniversary. So I think they might need to ditch the 50th thing and just release it as a deluxe edition. Well, that was my appraisal. You might have noticed, by the way, I'm wearing a band t-shirt, so in the basement at Big Pink there's all the guys. Yeah. So, representing from the outset. Just while we've got, a few minutes left, I thought I'd go through very briefly my history of band box set. So here's the 1994 Across the Great Divide, which at the time, no doubt was great stuff. I was a bit too young to be a band fan at that point, about 5 years too soon. But it's got a lovely booklet. It's got very old-timey quality vellum CDs with and the booklet to this date, I think this is by, who wrote this? Liner notes by Chet Flippo. It's still lovely. I mean, it's even got a great feel. It's like they decided to do old-timey, which, yeah, that's cool. So I'm never getting rid of that for that reason. But the band by the 2000s needed something to compete with, the really career-spanning box sets that were coming out for people. And we got Musical History, which is just, look at that. Look at that. Is this a book? A booklet? No. This is a book. Oh, look at that picture of Levon. I mean, that's just a random page, and we stopped on Levon looking the coolest in the world. Yeah, this is essential. This is absolutely essential. It's the old Baccaroni, which I love that they put all the unreleased tracks in red, so you can quickly see, I think I'll fit this one. So disc 5, for example, it's only got a few unreleased, but you might want to go to disc 1 because it's got hardly anything released, or not released by the band, but maybe by Ronnie Hawkins, that kind of thing. This is, if you hear Big Pink and you hear the band, just buy this if you really love those albums. That should be your next port of call. and then work outwards to the albums from there. Although the albums are also cheap if you buy the 2000 Capote remasters, but I think pick them all up. When I said 50th anniversary editions, you might have noticed I skipped the live album. That's because we've already kind of had that, haven't we? We have the Academy of Music, which gives us the 2 nights that we recorded for the live album with the Alan Toussaint horn arrangements and whatnot. And we've got DVD 5.1 surround with the King Harvest and Walcott Medicine Show archival clips. So yeah, this is gorgeous as well. It's all kind of embossed. 19 unreleased performances. It's got the Bob Dylan live appearance, one of his only live appearances around this era, because he'd retired from the road, as we know. Although this year he also did George Harrison's benefit show, didn't he? The Bangladesh. But there's loads of great photography in this one too. I mean, look at that. Leave on a mandolin, Robbie on guitar. Oh, gorgeous. Yeah. This one I think is out of print. So sorry, I do recommend it. But if you can't find it, get the 2-disc again, 2000 Capote remaster. I've said it 100 times. Rock of Ages, because essentially it's just that times 2. Big fans will want to hear the different versions across the different nights, but casual fans maybe not so much. But if you ever do see it cheap, or you become a big fan, pick up the Academy of Music, live at the Academy of Music 1971, the Rock of Ages concerts, to give it a full title. And then I ain't going to go into details on these because it's just what we've seen before, but for Cahoots here. So here's your 50th anniversary box set of music from Big Pink, which has the Blu-ray, CD, LP, although this one was done in 45, so it's over 2 discs. They dropped that, 2 records, they dropped that after the second release. Oh, I've got them out of order here. Stage Fright, which was a bit more controversial because Robbie changed the track listing, reordered it to be his original vision, and changed the artwork, as you can see. So it's not got the multicolours on it. It's not got the multicolours anywhere. The LP, the CD, not in here at all. So yeah, quite a revisionist take on it. Again, people will criticise that. I've got no problem because the old ones are still in print. It'd be different if he was doing a George Lucas and saying that's the end of the old band stuff, this is the new version, but these are all remixes. So, Robbie can have a tinker, we've still got the old ones. And then the Brown album, the band, which that's stuck on like an actual photograph stuck on, which is gorgeous. And this is all kind of felty, and this is the one that's got the Woodstock show where Robbie's was left on by accident and did them no favours. And then I've made a video about this, but it was in my very primitive YouTube days where back in November where I didn't even know how to speak English. I'm actually Filipino, you'd never know to look at me. The monster served the last waltz, which is so heavy that you're gonna need a forklift. It's about 25. I need to lie there. Watch that video. That thing is an epic. That is, we're talking about, if you're a more casual fan, don't worry about that. Wait until you're so into the band that you wake up dreaming you're Garth Hudson, which I do every day. Well, that was fun. So yeah, why don't you stick a little comment on about your favourite band album, your thoughts on Cahoots, your thoughts on the remixes, your thoughts on remixes versus originals in general. Whatever you want, stick a comment on making fun of my love of slouch beanies. I don't care, I'll respond. Thanks very much, and hey, let's be careful out there. Love and mercy, my dears. Love and mercy.